Welcome back to The Thing About Arsenal. First off, we just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been in touch this week after what was quite frankly an insane way for us all to spend our Sunday afternoons. So many of you have been commenting, listening, watching and chatting with us. So a massive thanks to all of you from all of us here. Every single one of you is helping us to grow this show. Please keep listening, keep watching, keep subscribing on the various social media channels and platforms that you use. And please keep telling your mates about us. Thank you. It does make a big difference to us and we appreciate it. Here we are then. The final days of the title race. Now, the most significant recent action is Manchester City beating Crystal Palace 3-0 on Wednesday night, which means that the title race could go down to the final day. It also means that we now can't win it at home on Monday night, but that always felt like a bit of an outside chance anyway.
I mean, it's funny because it was an outside chance, but you always also can't help. Just what if? Yeah. What if?
The reason for that, the numeracy guy I keep talking about that I kept saying on Twitter that guaranteed from like back in November that we were going to win the title at Burnley, I was really holding on to that. I literally have seen that.
You've told enough people about that.
I was like, I've shared that video everywhere. It's like, no boys, we're definitely going to do it. So yeah, that went out the window.
Well, technically, if we beat Burnley and then City lose next week, does that still make that true?
It kind of would, right?
Yeah, in a very tenuous way.
Would be what the worst way to win it, I think, winning it by City losing it.
Do you know what? I don't think that. And
okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if we cover that now, but I feel like that would be poetry to literally watch them lose it and then see, hopefully someone gets some cameras around William Saliba's living room and all the boys are there.
Jamie Vardy's there as well.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy with some WKDs and you know, having it off.
It would be Saliba's living room as well.
Yeah,
of all the living rooms, it would be absolutely be Saliba's living room.
Yeah, I think it'd be pure cinema.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Rory, I would absolutely take it.
I'd take it. Don't get me confused, Jim. I would take it.
By hook or by crook now. And actually, it would be probably the least stressful way to do it. Because
and that's what we're trying to avoid.
You're not watching Arsenal, who are the most stressful thing in the world.
True.
And honestly, like you say, just to follow on from this week, I haven't recovered still, and I don't really want to get. It was really, really bad, and it had a massive physical effect on me. I think lasting effect for a little while. That game.
See, I feel like my kind of, I guess, naive optimism in all circumstances has kind of helped me in this sense, because I kind of felt like throughout the game, like it was just going to be fine, and I don't know where that came from because history would tell me that it's not often fine.
No.
But I think it meant that the recovery was a little bit easier and the elation came a little bit earlier.
It took me a long time to feel the relief of that. So I watched the game in Bordeaux. I was away for the weekend and I was watching it in a bar where there was no commentary. Commentary obviously would have been French anyway, but there was like very sort of relaxing sort of bossa nova Brazilian music.
I would have much preferred that.
Oh, you would think that would make a difference.
That sounds like heaven, Jim.
But it just felt like a complete contrast to the turmoil that I was feeling within. And obviously the VAR check went on for a long time. It was very stressful. I went to the toilet at that point.
I bet you did.
You know you do mad things when you're stressed?
Yeah.
I walked out of the toilet. My bottom button on my shirt caught on the door handle, ripped off and flew into a bin. And I've obviously got to get a flight later. Which is just
Mr.
my
Bean
belly
moment.
hanging out. It's the type of things that your body only does under stress.
Yeah.
And so even after, you know, the goal wasn't given and we win the game, it took me such a long time for my body to like feel the relief and feel the kind of actual joy of what was a really, really important win.
And the cool breeze around your belly button wasn't helping that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So obviously a lot of people had quite stressful experiences watching this game. And we wanted to share this message from Hugh on Instagram, who must have had probably the most stressful experience of watching it altogether. Hugh says, I'm in Australia, so I woke up to watch the West Ham game at 1:30 a.m, only to realise my sister had changed the password for our streaming service. So I listened to the commentary on the Arsenal app without any visuals for the entire game while frantically updating X and Threads. A truly terrible experience waiting for the VAR decision in the dark at 3:30 a.m. I mean, that is...
Surely you're just calling your sister and waking up. Like, what's the password? This is your fault. I had similar to this for the Porto game in the 2024 season when we beat them on penalties in the Champions League last 16. I was flying back, actually from Portugal, weirdly, and I got back at like 8:30. So I was like, I'm not going to then go at the game because I've missed too much or whatever. but I was living next to the stadium at the time, and we were just changing over Wi-Fi, so we didn't have Wi-Fi in the house. So I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just watch it on the 4G when I get home or whatever. Forgetting that when you're that close to the stadium, the 4G wouldn't work. So I couldn't watch the game. So thankfully I had a wireless radio in my bedroom. So I just had to stick it on the wireless radio. And I was basically having a mixture of hearing the reactions in the ground and the radio commentary. Wow. Listening to the game when it's really important and you could be watching it is an absolute nightmare. So I do feel for you, Hugh. Yeah. And that wasn't even at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No. I love that you've got a wireless radio.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Was there not any pubs available to get to run down the road?
Yeah, that might have been the sensible thing to do, to be fair. Why did you tell me this 2 years too late, Johnny? Where were you then?
Sorry, Raw, mate.
So the audio from the VAR decision of the West Ham game was released this weekend, and it's actually a very interesting listen, because to me, it covers off a lot of the talking points that people have been talking about. The notable thing for me is that the VAR says possible foul on the keeper immediately. Mm-hmm. So that suggests to me that it's clear and it's obvious. Yeah. And I thought that watching it with the first replay, it's very 100%. Clear there's holding on
and
the goalkeeper.
And the ref, as soon as he sees it, same thing. He said, yeah, that's
absolutely.
It, foul
there. Yeah. So then people are saying, well, what about the other things going on? They look at the Trossard one after they've determined that it's impeding David Raya. He thinks nothing of that. I agree with that. Rice absolutely fouls Mavropanos, but it happens afterwards. Yeah. And I just think all of these things are cleared off. And the narrative for me that I found really interesting, being a little bit removed from it, was everyone agrees that it's a foul on the goalkeeper. Yeah. Absolutely everybody. But it shouldn't have been disallowed. And the reason for that is that Arsenal are cheats. Yeah. That seemed to be what people were saying. Well, I was like, hang on, I can't slide all this together in my mind.
Laura Woods, she really got someone on a podcast. I'm trying to think who it was now. He's a West Ham fan anyway. And she said,
Jack Dean, I know
Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And he said, Arsenal do it all the time. So he admitted that it was a foul. So he said, Laura's gone, so you admit it was a foul. It's like, yeah, it was a foul, but you get away with it all the time. So it doesn't change the fact that it was still a foul. Even if we have, which isn't true, we do get away with it. We're very smart. We don't do these things and we wouldn't get away with it. If you admit that that the actual action was a foul, then you kind of nothing else really matters in terms of your analysis.
Completely, especially when you're then saying, what about all the other incidents? And we know that they were looked at. That's why it took so long. And then you've got people saying, but it's terrible that it takes so long. If it takes so long, then it isn't clear and obvious. But the actual foul that was the issue was the clear and obvious thing. Yeah. People are complaining that the other things aren't being looked at, and they were looked at. Yeah. I just think all of this stuff has been covered off. And you also see people saying about VAR, I think there's a lot of groupthink about VAR. It does sometimes ruin a spectacle, right? Mm-hmm. And I've seen people saying, it's just a real shame that, two important things like a title race and a relegation battle could be settled because of a VAR decision. It's like, well, do you want consistency or not? Do you not want it to be applied in big moments? Like it's a real can of worms.
I was literally on a debate show having this debate the other day. Is that people just don't. What at the end of it, the conclusion to every argument is that we really just don't like Arsenal. That is it. And if you could just admit that, then it's fine. We wouldn't have to keep going around in circles because you're literally saying everything that that is it doesn't make sense.
I think for me it's a combination of people's, well, I guess not everyone's, a certain corner of the internet's frustration with Arsenal this season. Yeah. And a lot of people's frustration with VAR kind of being brought together into this one beautiful melting pot, which has just caused so many people to lose their minds, essentially. And I also think that ultimately the media now is just so keen to peddle the social media narrative as if it's fact, is that these things just get blown out of proportion way more than they actually need to be.
Rory, you're so right there, because actually Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, most of the respectable kind of high-profile pundits all agree that it was the right decision. Every referee, ex-referee or current referee I've seen has agreed with that. All of the kind of the Jonathan Wilson level sort of kind of journalist commentators all agree with the same thing. All the noise comes from social media, and actually these companies do prop that up now as well, so that they're obviously fueling this kind of fire on purpose.
I mean, going back in history, a lot of the teams that are leading the league always get accused of corruption. Yeah. It has happened. It was Liverpool at one stage. It was Man City. It was Sheikhs are buying the referees, and we had referees going over to Dubai. And
look at what's happening in Scotland right now.
What's happening in Scotland right now with the Celtic, the last minute penalty. Even going back to Sir Alex Ferguson, he had like a mafia mob boss sort of
the Fergie time thing.
Fergie time, but
exactly.
he also used to speak to the refs and the journalists, and he had a bit of control. You're always going to have those sort of accusations made when you're at the top of the league. We take it.
Totally.
It comes
totally.
with the
And
territory.
that is a thing to accept as an Arsenal fan, isn't it? That if it wasn't this, it would be something else. And it's not even a thing to accept as an Arsenal fan. It's like whatever club you support, fans of other clubs are going to resent whatever you do, however you do it, and there will always be efforts to kind of undermine that success. And actually, that means if you can just kind of cool your own temperature a bit when it winds you up, that it's okay, because it's just how
we're
it is.
kind of not used to being winners. I think there's an even more deeper philosophical sort of point to be made, is that we always look up. Whoever's at the top, you're always going to think, how did they get there? That's just how society works.
Totally.
But we're not used to it. I think once we win, we'll be very used to it, and we wear it as a badge of honour. Yeah, we're corrupt, so what? Beat us. There you go.
I'm loving what this has done to Mikel Arteta, though, because he's become such an unbothered king in the last week.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't watch the Man City game. I was out for dinner. He was asked about the VAR, the fallout from the VAR incident. He's like, I've not seen any of the incidents. What's going on? I've not seen any of that. Sorry.
Not worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not interested. Like, when has Arteta become an unbothered king, and how can we get more of that,
It's
please?
great, isn't it? And because, if we take it back to the wider context of how close we are to the end now, and, 2 games away from winning the Premier League, and obviously 1 game away from making history and winning our first Champions League title. I mean, you're right. The temperature has cooled down a lot. I wonder if after the all the stuff with the TikTok videos prior to the Man City game, Arteta has realised actually now is not the time for these sort of shenanigans.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. And I can't remember who it was now. I think it was actually even from rugby, not from football, but they asked, like, let's say it was Brian O'Driscoll. They asked him, like, final thing you would say to your team before you would go out and play a big game in the World Cup, a big game in the Six Nations. And he basically said, in those moments, it's not about encouraging your team or not about giving them extra motivation. It's like when you're playing for something that important, the motivation's already there. What you're actually trying to do is you're trying to calm them down. You're trying to give them really clear, simple instructions of these are things we need to do. And I think that definitely translates across sport. And in this sort of instance, actually the fever pitch is there, all the hype is there. Yeah. What this football team needs now is just a bit of calmness and a bit of clear thinking. I wonder if this is Arteta, like you say, Jim, just trying to implement that.
Not to give, I think this is what I was saying a minute ago about you learning how to win, and then not to give Gary Neville any credit, but he did say a couple of years ago, I was too emotional, and we were, every big win felt like we were winning the World Cup. I feel like the players have learnt this season. You can see it in the way they're dealing with the press. Saka's been like this for quite a while, actually. Eze has been unbelievable the last few months with the press.
Such a calm head.
Gyökeres, I thought, was brilliant after the West Ham game. Calm. It's almost like they already know it. For Arteta to be still in this sort of heightened emotional mood, it wouldn't make sense. It's been very repetitive now.
Yeah.
We know what you got to do.
Absolutely.
And that is starting to come across. And maybe it's... Don't get me wrong, I felt like a few weeks ago he was losing his head a bit, and you could see in the press conference the pressure was getting to him, particularly after the Bournemouth game, I felt.
Yeah.
But, we now know.
Yeah, certainly kind of mentally and emotionally it seems to have turned around and gone into a really positive place. And actually today's been another pretty positive day. It's kit launch day.
Yeah. One of the best days of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Presumably they'll wear it on Monday night, actually, won't they? That's often the way. It's the
that
last
is
home
like
game
the
of
modern
season.
thing to do. And I guess now that we can't win the league, that makes that more likely. Because wasn't that thing a couple of years ago where we couldn't wear it or something?
Yeah,
you can't win the league in the new kit. Or
that's right. You can't lift the trophy in the new kit.
Yeah,
presumably for the benefit of Premier League years.
Yeah, 100%. Everything for Premier League years. And as is right, by the way, that should not be tampered with.
So have you seen the kit launch video?
I've seen it, which is amazing. It's better than the kit, but I'll be honest. The kit launch was amazing. But every single thing that Arteta, after you won the FA Cup in 2020, he released that video with Adidas, and it was about what I want to do. It's going to be hard. I want to build a community. I want to, encourage, this feeling of togetherness and set standards and everything else. That felt like a full circle moment. It'd be good to A and B them videos because. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was happy that South London had a little shout out because there was and then with Eze in it as well, and it just felt like, oh my God, I'm so proud to be a part of this club. Until I saw the shirt.
Eze in particular.
Sorry.
Eze in particular is so natural in that video, isn't it? You can feel with the other players that they're obviously present in the moment, but you can feel that they seem very aware of being in something that's being created. Eze feels like he's having a really warm, genuine conversation with a fan about how much it means to him, and like he's such a great kind of representative of the club, and his smile just absolutely lifts you, doesn't it? And of course, Ricardo Calafiori, you got to get him in there.
Oh, of course,
and that's a smart move as well.
His hometown's name, brilliant.
It's just great stuff. I'm still not sure how I feel about the kit. I keep kind of flip-flopping on it. When I first saw it, I thought the stripes make it look like it's referencing sort of like 1970s interior design.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Like the training ground's going to have one of those like sunken bits that you get in the living room to sit around and drink martinis in.
It's one of the brown. Is it like it's a maroon?
Yeah, and it looks brown, doesn't it?
Because it looks brown
next to the red.
Is it trying to like hark back to the sort of 20 years since we left Highbury, that sort of maroon kit we had? I think that was part
maybe
of the
that
promo.
was it.
But it does feel like with the kits now, like the recent Adidas kits, it's kind of like the base level stays roughly the same. We'll just change the stripes this year.
Yeah.
So we've had gold, we've had blue, we've now got red. I think we had white as well. Like it's just like, right, what stripes is it going to be next year? That seems to be what is the main thing to change. I like it. I think it's clean and it's simple. It's like sometimes there's the kits that are like going to live forever. And then sometimes there's just like the simple, clean sort of Arsenal aesthetic. Yes, I think it fits that bill perfectly.
Absolutely, and we'll have a kit launch for the away kit at some point as well, which I really like, the blue one. Sort of,
is it? Oh, I haven't seen the. Oh no, have I?
There's a sort of little bruised banana reference going on. It's blue.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. I'm having a bit of that.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very nice. I'll have that.
So people who buy the shirt directly get an NFC card, which they can scan, and that then takes you to the club app where you can listen to exclusive voice notes from players and record your own messages for a chance to receive a phone call back. So that's quite cool as well.
I get a phone call back.
Yeah.
I always think that stuff like that, like it sounds great. But what do you say? What do you?
I really like
you. Like what? And it depends who you spoke to. If you spoke to Declan Rice, like I'm sure he'd be absolutely great in that situation and like take all the pressure off you and like what if Ben White called you up?
Oh, that's the best case scenario. That's the absolute best case scenario.
Oh dear.
But he's not going to make the conversation. So then I've got to make the conversation. See the game at the weekend? And no, you didn't see the game. Okay, no. what series are you watching at the moment?
We should try and get a podcast call sorted out. Why don't we buy a shirt and try and get a podcast call?
Let's
see if we can do that. We work our players very hard media-wise, don't we?
We do.
I mean, obviously, I'm not tuned into any other club, but we've done a lot of media work. Because even that came out, and then obviously our new arm sponsor is Deal, and that was with Vieira and Calafiori as well. And that was that's a lot. And I know content days, they take a long time.
Yeah, sure.
And I know my friend does bits and bobs, and he did Declan the other day for some World Cup stuff. But they're doing so much. Like even before they finish training, do that, then they got World Cup anyway.
It tends to be, doesn't it, that the player, you get like an hour or two with the players and they're ushered in for that small window. But it's still, it's a lot of work when you're there, and it's all just headspace taken up as well.
Yeah. So as a player, so it's like, right, you want me to record this line? Which video is this for again? Like, maybe you just don't think about it, just tell me the line. You'll see it in the future.
Yeah. I think what we've concluded is they work really hard. Let's pay them more. So after the break, we look ahead to our final home game of the season. So it's Burnley. Burnley at home. They're already relegated. They're managed by Michael Jackson. We are in a situation we'd have been very, very happy with at the start of the season. It's now just about being serious and getting it done. And Johnny, how much do you think they're going to think about goal difference here? Because it is something that could be a factor if we were to draw on the last day.
They've been thinking about goal difference since the Fulham game, because I saw Saka run up after he scored and said we need another free. Like he said that he's gone like that, but his mouth wasn't covered. He's tried to cover his mouth. He said we need another free.
But he missed.
He missed his mouth.
That's the last bit of form he still needs to recover.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I do think we are going to be thinking about it. Look, like I really don't want to be petrified about this game, but I am still. I'm petrified about both games because it's just not done. And now it's getting closer. The bullish Johnny Dutch, who's been there all season, he's slowly exiting the room and is being replaced by a bag of nerves. I feel as though we'll have to start quick, and it will be a case of we cannot go into half-time at 0-0.
Yeah,
it really can't be one of those games like West Ham. We started quick against West Ham, didn't take our chances, but the players will be I think they'll be really focused on how many can we score.
It creates a narrative, right? If you're 0-0 at half-time, it creates an unwanted tension that doesn't need to be there. I'll take over from you. I'm feeling good for this.
Yeah.
And I actually think the goal difference is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Because we need to go and score goals, right? It could come down to that. Obviously, it shouldn't if we do everything right, but it could, and you need to take care of as much as you can take care of. And I think the mentality of having to go out and to take the game to them and to be positive and to try and score a few goals actually really helps this team in this moment.
Yeah.
I think if there is any room for a slip up, it would be going in with a negative mindset.
Yeah.
If we go in,
100%.
because ultimately we are a way better team than Burnley. Burnley also have nothing to play for, so it's not like they're fighting for their lives trying to stay up. Like, all we need to do is just go out and play like that.
Execute,
and the way in which you do that is to go and be positive and to go and execute your best game in an attacking sense. If you don't try and do that, that's when it can bad things could creep in. But I think because we need to go and score a few goals, we'll be fine.
The potential danger, I suppose you could argue, is that Wolves caused us a fair bit of trouble at home with a low block. Now, Burnley might not want to play that way, given that they're down anyway. They might want to go out there and express themselves and have as much fun as is possible. I guess that's the potential danger, isn't it? And that's why I completely agree that trying to score early and really, really kind of turning the screw on that as early as possible is important. I think Zian Fleming for them has got 11 goals this season, 10 in the Premier League. I think he's actually gone under the radar a bit. 27 will probably get a move to a decent club. So he's someone who, Jaden Anthony, another player who was on our books, I think, as a youngster, wasn't he? I think he's a Hale End product. They've got some players there that can hurt you, so we've got to be wary of it, but you also have to look at this as the team who are at the top of the league, the team who are in the Champions League final, playing a team who are already relegated and are without a permanent manager at the moment. You have to be sensible here, just get this done. And I think for that reason, the stadium will be absolutely rocking now. There will be another greeting of the bus at the roundabout outside the club shop at 5:45. On Monday night. So I think that's another thing that might really, really hype it up. That really worked against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, it's funny because this is your kind of anxiety as a fan, but like my instinct with that's like, don't put extra pressure on them, don't make it any different to usual. But it sounds like from what the players said and what we saw, the players seem to really appreciate that, right? They really kind of said that they noticed it and they enjoyed it, and I think you saw that in the performance and the way it worked. So like, it just shows that you can't let your anxiety take over everything.
No, you got to enjoy it as well. And that's the thing. I know we said it months ago that, we should be enjoying this experience, and it has not been enjoyable. But I think the players maybe are enjoying it a little bit more than we are, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like, it is. I mean, when you look at it like this, obviously City are one ahead now in goal difference. A 5-0, right, realistically, and not to do too much maths today, but a 5-0, even if they then beat Bournemouth, which I don't think they do, right, it means they're only going to beat them by 1 goal. So that means they'd have to beat Villa 3 or 4 to win the title, and we draw. So it's just giving us that extra buffer.
Yeah.
So I think it would be quite helpful because it would also kill City. I think an edgy 1-0, no. Or even an edgy 2-0. You win 5-0, they're like, you know what?
And I feel like the narrative since the City game has been like we're going to go out and win it now. We're going to go out and win it on our terms. I think we've played like that. I know the West Ham game was a bit different, but that was always going to be a really difficult game with what's going on there at the moment.
Also, I think a lot of that was down to the changes that I think Arteta got wrong, and obviously he corrected it. But before that change happened, we were really on top and playing really, really well. And I think there's also an argument that it's about form.
Yeah.
Right? There's 2 games left of the season after this game. They're both absolutely massive games. You have to be in a position where you're creating chances and you're being ruthless in taking them, and that is a factor here as well. So I think there's really, I can't see any eventuality where we don't attack this in the same way that we did the Fulham game. Really.
Yes, definitely.
Because PSG are doing exactly that at the moment in France. They're playing. I saw an unbelievable counter-attacking goal from them the other night. So we've got to build some confidence.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about Champions League final yet at all, but there is an opportunity to build some confidence and also just to give a massive psychological dent to City, who will have a ridiculously difficult game against Bournemouth after an FA Cup final, and Bournemouth literally have Champions League in their sights.
Yeah, and they've not lost in ages, Bournemouth as well. They're in really, really good form.
Also, something we never mentioned on the show on Monday, West Ham hadn't lost since January the 6th. So, that was just to sort of give a little bit more perspective to that performance. We were playing really, really well. They are at home. They hadn't lost at home since January the 6th. They are a pretty good home team under Nuno Espirito Santo. So it wasn't going to always be as easy, and I didn't know that before the game.
We've also had a week off, which I think like we're always look like a better team after a week off, which makes sense, right? Because it's very rare that Arteta gets any time on the training pitch with the players. He'll have had that. He'll be able to put them into the patterns that he wants, and the players will be rested. So I think we should be in a really good place here to put in a good performance.
Mm-hmm. So really the big talking point going into this game and every remaining game is what happens at right back. We know that Ben White is out for the rest of the season, which is absolutely gutting. Mikel Arteta said it's a long-term injury, so he'll probably miss the World Cup as well. Really unfortunate, because I think he's had a fair bit of criticism in terms of his standard at the moment and getting back up to form. But actually, the last few games, he'd been excellent. Against Atletico Madrid, I don't think he put a foot wrong. Really, really unfortunate timing for him. Now, Jurriën Timber is apparently improving, and there is talk that he might be back for the Champions League final. Apparently, he's training on grass. But this is one of those where...
All sounds quite vague.
Yeah, the whole thing's been vague. A month ago, he was asked about his fitness before the Man City game, and he said, "I can't say. You will see," which sounded cryptic, but actually meant that he didn't really know by the sounds of it. Ricardo Calafiori's fitness is also unclear after he came off at halftime against West Ham. So I think we're all pretty happy with Piero Hincapié as an option there. But there are some kind of factors at play at fullback here.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Hincapié. I guess the one thing to consider is that look, I think pretty much all Arsenal fans will be in agreement that Mosquera should just start at right back, right?
Well, maybe Declan Rice.
Sorry, yeah, of course. But no, I think we're in agreement that Mosquera should just start at right back. But then I guess my slight worry with that is if then you don't have Calafiori and you've got Hincapié, that's kind of two more defensively minded fullbacks you've got. Now, I do think that actually in recent months, Hincapié has looked better going forward than when he first got here. So on the side of his game that's improved, but it's still something to be mindful of. So then maybe there's a world where Lewis Skelly starts at left back again. Obviously, he did move there during the West Ham game, but I think we all like seeing him in midfield. Mm-hmm. So there's different things for Arteta to consider within that conundrum.
Yeah, and Arteta did suggest that it's not as straightforward as Mosquera just going there and it will look at other options. I don't know what they are. So we've spoken before about what we lose going forward with Mosquera as a fullback. And he is playing out of position. I know he's played as a fullback before, but he doesn't sort of bomb forward and maraud in the way that any of our other right back options do. And if we are sort of looking at goal difference, that might be a factor. I personally think Hincapié has actually been really good on that front recently. I think
he has definitely improved.
Kind of absolutely upped his game, and he was quite he was fairly marauding for Bayer Leverkusen when he was there as well. Yeah. So I think we're seeing that side of him. Personally, I've got no worries with that, but I do think the right side, given how important both Ben White and Jurriën Timber are in getting that connection with Odegaard and with Saka and whoever else is in there, is massive. So it could be a factor. And I wonder if Mosquera will be given sort of free rein to roam up and down a bit.
Yeah, but I also wonder if he could, but I just don't think that would fit him personally. I think you wouldn't. You could give him that, but I don't think he would use those positions particularly well. I almost wonder if the way to try and compensate it, particularly in this Burnley game, is to try and bulk up the team elsewhere. So it could be a game, for example, if Odegaard is fit enough to start, we'll see. It could be a game for Odegaard in the middle and Ezra on the left.
Sure.
And then Ezra maybe drifting into those middle spaces a bit more, so Odegaard can come out to the right and help out where you don't have Mosquera, that sort of thing. Or maybe Lewis Skelly at left back, but again, I don't love that. So I think you can compensate in different places.
I like the idea. I know a lot of Arsenal fans that I know have been saying that we don't see Declan Rice enough play on the right interior as an 8. And I feel like if he was to take that role, we would get the overlaps, the potential overlapping that we miss without Ben White if he was playing on the right hand side, and then maybe a Zubimendi holding and Eze or an Odegaard playing as a left interior. That might be a way of juggling it. Because I just think now, let's not overcomplicate things. Mosquera's played enough games at right back for him to deputise there. But we do lose something. So maybe one way of just not changing too much would be to shuffle Jeff and Wright a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be if Eze in the middle if they were going to do that, because I think that Odegaard likes occupying that right hand side, and with his left foot, it makes sense for him to be over there. So I think if you were to have a midfield of say Zubimendi or Lewis Skelly, Rice, and Eze, then that could work, because Eze kind of like drifting out to that left hand side.
Yeah, I mean, I like all of those options. I'm excited by all of those options. So let's see what the manager goes with on Monday night. So some Burnley stats, which is, I know you're all here for that, wherever you are in the world. So Burnley have only beaten us once in 21 meetings since 2008. That was a 1-0 win at the Emirates back in December 2020 when they were managed by Sean Dyche. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored an own goal that day. Granit Xhaka was sent off.
That feels nostalgic now, doesn't it?
I don't even remember that game.
See, I really remember this game.
Was it?
So it was COVID year.
Yeah, I remember
post
that.
FA Cup, and it was, I think, our 4th home defeat in a row, which is the first time in like 60 years that had happened. And for me, I really remember this game because it was basically the time where I think Arteta was closest to getting sacked.
Yes.
We were 15th in the league. There was a lot of conversation about his future. Obviously, we'd won the FA Cup before, so that was giving him some credit, but everyone was like, oh, is it going to work under Arteta? I think this was just before he'd been a year in the job as well.
Yeah.
And then I think we played Everton and Southampton, and then then we played Chelsea, and that's when he brought Smith Rowe into the team. And arguably saved his career with that Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Saka sort of 3 attacking midfielders, and then we went on that run. And I think it's a really interesting time to look back at that now and think, well, that was almost kind of the start of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it improved there throughout the season, and then it got a bit better going forwards, and kind of the Saka and Smith Rowe seasons after that. And now we're almost at the end of that story, with hopefully winning a league title in the next week or so. So it's kind of a weird time to remember that game and think kind of that was the beginning, and hopefully this is now towards the end.
Synergy and symmetry we've seen in this season, because I do remember that, because I actually put money on Arteta being sacked, because I remember this time very vividly. I've obviously blocked it from my memory, but I remember there was rumours going around the canteen, and one of the ITKs that I knew of, it was like, yeah, no, he's gone. And it was that close. It is mad that it was really on the brink. It wasn't just hearsay. Like, there was genuine, like, we might need to move on. Because I remember the Southampton draw. It was a draw of Southampton.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I remember that very clearly. Yeah,
and I think this Burnley game was particularly telling because we like created nothing, never looked like scoring, and then Aubameyang, our goal scorer, scored the own goal, and then Xhaka, who had always been a bit. He hadn't made his resurgence by this stage yet. So it was like, oh, Xhaka gets sent off again, like nothing's changed at Arsenal. And it definitely was like a probably one of the darkest moments in Arteta's time as Arsenal manager.
Yeah. So is there an argument that after his goal in the FA Cup final, this is actually the most important goal that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored for us? Because it forced Arteta to think differently and get Smith Rowe in there and save the day.
Oh, and the good times we had. Oh, I miss him.
Yeah. So Aubameyang has been in the news again this week. I don't know if you've seen this. This is an absolutely sensational story. We spoke about it on the Football Ramble earlier in the week as well. So he's been dropped by Marseille because he sprayed a staff member with a fire extinguisher while the staff member was in bed. Now, the full story of this is quite something. So Marseille, just going to repeat it here, Marseille have been having a torrid time, so they decided they wanted the players to stay behind at the training ground, sleep there, so sort of half bonding, half sort of disciplinary situation, boot camp, which is possibly against employment law, because of course it is. Aubameyang decides he's not having that, so he gets a group of people together, they have a bit of a jolly, running through the complex, he gets a fire extinguisher out, and he sprays it all over this Bob Tari fella who's in bed, and he sprayed it all over his stuff as well, which is like, it's one thing needing to have a shower, it's another thing needing to pop your phone in a little box of rice, isn't it? Obviously they're not happy with that, and this fella was there specifically to enforce the curfew as well, and I just think that is, it's just classic Aubameyang.
So he's not doing a very good job then, this Bob Tari.
He's doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
Do you know,
he needs to stay at the training ground to think about what he did at his work.
No one at Marseille is doing a good job.
This is the first thing I thought when we're hearing about this was, our poor Ethan. What have we sent him to?
Yeah,
we sent him to the Hunger Games, for God's sake. Like, it's been ridiculous since minute one of when he got there. He's going to come back very, very shell-shocked, I think.
Yeah.
And also, if it makes me laugh that Arteta decided, and I remember celebrating when he made Aubameyang his captain, and then I'm just weighing it up with his non-negotiables and how much of a clown, and I love Aubameyang, but he is not someone that you really want to captain your side if you're trying to revolutionise the standard and the ethics of a football club. So it was. Yeah, another full circle moment.
If Stag Do's had a captain, absolutely. Football clubs, not so much.
This does feel like he's living a gap here, for sure.
Definitely.
But so are you suggesting that Nwaneri's brother Emerson should have volunteered to go to Marseille?
Yeah, I would have much preferred that.
Behalf?
Yeah, I would have much preferred that because I don't know. He's going to might need some counselling when he comes back.
Yeah. Do you think he was among the 10? He's of the right age profile, but he seems a bit too mature for the antics of 36-year-old Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
He's already above it, which I quite like.
Yeah. I mean, how do you guys feel about Aubameyang now? Obviously, when he left, it was under a little bit of a cloud because of the situation with Arteta kind of getting enough of this sort of stuff and him turning up late to the North London derby, which is obviously unforgivable. But he was such a big figure. And I do think it's a shame that probably because he ended up at Chelsea and that, this being the way that modern football is now, I don't blame him for that either. But I think there were some people who were a bit fed up with him at the time he left, but he was such an important player for us in the time he was there.
He was, and I think he's of. I guess it's slightly different, but he falls into that category of like Ozil and Alexis Sanchez are sort of right players, maybe at the wrong time. But at the same time, if we didn't have them during those times, where would we be? I don't know, but I just also feel like I still think highly of Aubameyang, but of that era, it's always Lacazette. For some reason, is the one that I'll always be tied to. He's the one that I'll still have like a bit of a connection to over Aubameyang for some reason. I don't really know why.
I did like both of them, but they were representative of where we were at the time. By the way, Aubameyang was the best 9 we've had since Van Persie. I think that goes without saying. He won us an FA Cup, but I do remember being very emotionally charged at the time when we let him go. And I remember it was a transfer window that he turned up in Barcelona or something, and he was early or something. It was all of that. And I remember thinking, good riddance, mate, because you're a clown. And we had a lot of kids. That's how I felt at the time. Looking back at it now, I have to respect the goals he scored, and he was quality. He was a high quality player. He may not have had the right mindset for, like what you were saying, for a revolution and the changing the guard that we had under Arteta, that it weren't the right fit at the time, but he was a really, really good player. It was a genuine, I'd say genuinely world class at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of the time he was there with us, and so he won us an FA Cup, and that is for me is going to be his legacy.
And then drops the trophy.
Yeah. On to something that's a little bit less jolly. Bit of controversy relating to the Champions League final. None of the three of us could get tickets. It's a disgrace. Separately from that, another story's come up. Apparently members of staff at the club have been offered a ticket to the final, but those that are not working on the day of the final itself have not been given transport, and that means they've been offered the chance to pay £859 to be on the chartered flights to Budapest. That would also mean if there happens to be a parade the next day, for whatever reason, they have to be on that chartered flight to make that. And Arsenal have made at least £120 million from prize money for reaching the final. And that's a shame, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I know United did the same thing last year. I think it's commonplace.
That's why it's a shame. Yeah, because we're getting brought in with United.
Surely, I know. Of
surely
course.
that moral high ground is worth winning.
There's a lot of, for all of the great things, and we were talking earlier about the promo for the shirts and how great, the emphasis on community and togetherness that we have. There has been a lot of reasons to not be so proud of how the club have handled things this season. Multiple things politically, things like this. Cost-cutting measures and whatever else, and the season tickets, whatever else. There is still room for growth, and there's still things we need to work on getting right, I think, as a club.
Absolutely, and some things have value that are beyond monetary, right? Yeah. And doing the right thing by your staff is an important thing there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right to say you've got to look after your staff. That's something that's really important. And I think you're definitely right to point out, Johnny, that the club still have stuff that they could get better, and we've seen 100%. High-profile incidents recently. I think it's really important that we as a fan base call them out on that, because ultimately things aren't going to change unless they find out from their most important stakeholders, right, that they want it done differently, and we actually really value these sorts of things. We value the cultural side of the club and the community side of the club and the social side of the club. So even though it kind of doesn't take me any pleasure to talk about actually how outrageous this is when you think about it, I think it's particularly at this time of the year when we should be celebrating Arsenal and are rightly celebrating Arsenal. It's time that you also it's important that you do take a moment to address these things and call them out, because the club should be doing better.
Yeah, and Arteta is often talking about how hard people work behind the scenes and how it's Arsenal are able to function in the way they do because of the hard work of a lot of very talented people. And I think that, you know, they should be valued enough that they don't have to pay that extortionate amount to go and see something that they are really a part of.
Yeah, exactly.
In nicer news, Ian Wright is finally getting a biopic.
Yeah.
That is lovely stuff. So Stormzy announced on Tuesday that he's going to executive produce a biopic of Ian Wright, and I love that because Stormzy's a Man United fan.
Yeah, I
isn't he?
thought that.
And but he's still recognising Ian Wright, and it's going to tell Wright's story from childhood and getting rejected by Sunday League teams all the way up to playing for the Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a great story for us South Londoners, and obviously it's quite inspiring. Stormzy's from my generation, so for us Londoners and Black boys, Ian Wright is held up in massive high regard, and it is a very inspirational story about, you know, having talent, backing yourself, working hard, and getting to the top, and then being a cultural icon. And he's now still earning fortunes on television in his mid-60s. So he is a real important person for our community and for the Arsenal community as well. And it's good for that to be recognised. And I feel a lot of people, you know, he's right from where I'm from, and, you know, my families know his family and everything else. So with Ian Wright, it's always been someone that he's a hero. But I feel like it's going to be done properly with Stormzy. I think he understands the nuance behind why he is such a cultural icon and why he's so important to the communities he's important to. So
Definitely.
I think it's going to be a brilliant
Definitely,
piece.
for sure. And I think, like, from my perspective as well, as someone who wasn't lucky enough to watch Ian Wright play for Arsenal, but obviously has still got to live his significance through the role he plays with the club now, I think it'll be a really nice way of, like, almost getting to live his Arsenal experience.
100%.
Kind of for people like myself and for new generations who maybe still revere Ian Wright but don't have a memory of him as a player. And I think, like, it's going to be such a nice celebration of someone who is ultimately be not just so important for Arsenal, right, but so important for English football as a whole.
Yeah. Oh, Rory, I'm sad for you because we were talking about Aubameyang there and how reliable he was. Ian Wright was the guy.
Yeah.
It was kind of, there's certainly a lineage between him and even Bergkamp, Henry and those players where he was the main guy in the team, the guy that you look for to goals and the guy that more often than not delivered.
Literally, I was watching David O'Leary on the Overlap, and he was talking about it, how Arsenal at one stage, when I was very young and you were young as well, we'd watch the game and we would defend, and we'll be able to ensure we're not going to concede. But we knew we had Ian Wright.
Yeah.
So it was almost like it was guaranteed. And then David Leary was talking about how if you wound up right, he was scoring. It was guaranteed. And it was almost like, even during the 90s, there was all this great Nike ad campaigns which Ian Wright was involved in. And remember was it like Chicken Tonight? He was on the advert.
Yeah.
So he's always been more than a footballer. So, and he's almost had lived sort of outside of transcended football in many ways. And it's going to be great very nostalgic for us looking back on it to see that. And obviously his great relationship with David Rocastle, that will be a massive part of the film. So yeah, I'm buzzing for it.
Do you remember that? I think it was a Nike advert, and the slogan was "Behind every great goalkeeper is a ball from Ian Wright." It's a lovely phrase. And that's kind of how we felt at the time. And he was a real showman. He is really the reason that I support Arsenal. If my memory is right, he was the guy I fell in love with watching them, and he is such a kind of important part of my childhood. He's like my football dad. So I'm really happy that this is going to happen. Have you ever listened to his Desert Island Discs?
No.
It's really emotional listen. He talks a lot about his past and that period when he was, when he wasn't a professional footballer, and a lot of the kind of adversity he was up against, and how actually some quite important figures in his life didn't really believe in him and were actively trying to discourage him. And it's a great listen, and I really recommend it.
Yeah, but you can tell that as well. Like, he's got like the humility now of someone who is not had everything handed to them, right?
Yes.
And I think the Ian Wright you see today on the telly, who's always kind of fighting the good fight, standing up for the right causes, getting involved with the right things, that comes from someone who's had to ultimately work hard to get to where they are, and then trying to pass that on to the next generation, which doesn't always happen, right? And I think it's really important that now we get to celebrate people like this who are like that.
The way he's championed the women's game, and this was from right back when he was playing, when no one, and let's be honest, like, now it's great. It is unbelievable where the women's game is now. He played a massive role in that, and it's always been a massive part. And I feel as though even that, like, it goes under the radar a little bit, but yeah, he's done a lot for a lot of people and a lot of things. So
yeah, you see that with like Kelly Smith, who's obviously now a big part of the backroom staff of the Arsenal women, and Ian Wright. Like they crossed paths at Arsenal all the way back in the day, and for them to be crossing paths together now with Arsenal women all these years on, where they are today, the club are really good at kind of respecting that heritage and respecting both the roles those two players have played in the club, and I think it's a really important thing to celebrate.
Yeah. And also one more thing, you give flowers to people while they're still here as well, and I think that's very important.
Absolutely. So let's hope that movie ends with Ian Wright getting a statue outside the Emirates. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Thing About Arsenal. There will be a bit of a different schedule next week. Laura and Rory are back with About Arsenal Women on Monday. Then we'll bring you reactions straight after Burnley on Monday night before a slightly later weekend review than usual on Tuesday, because of course we are playing on Monday night. Hit subscribe wherever you're watching and listening so that you don't miss it. Johnny, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Rory, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, by the way, today, Jim. Fantastic.
Thanks, mate. It's nice to drive for once. So, yeah, thank you very much, guys. We will see you very soon. Thank you for listening.